Okay, well, I'm going to do something for your demo that I don't usually do for the demos. I'm going to let you have about 5 minutes to set up your workspace if you would like to. So after teaching me how to use it and going through a few things, he just left me alone. And I was able to open up a browser window here, like a pad here to write some things down, another browser window here, a nice big movie up here. So I was able to see what it was like to really multitask, be able to do everything in the work environment. But it was lacking. I wanted more. I wanted to be able to open all the programs that I was used to. It didn't really make sense that so many things are gated behind Apple Vision Pro. I mean, there are other programs that are coming out, and I'm drawing a blank on what it is, but it's really filling out as far as being able to stream in your Windows desktops and multiple screens and everything like that. But I mean, I can do that with my Quest. I'm just happy with the Quest. If these were native apps and it made it really beautiful and gorgeous and things like that on the Apple Vision Pro, it would make some more sense. But at this time, really, you're only streaming, and I can stream on my desktop. I can stream my desktop to my Quest, and I'm happy with that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Pass through
No,
is
yeah, Pastor.
something phenomenal, like being
Mhm.
able to dial in a virtual environment really slowly, and it just kind of fades in. So if you don't really want to see the clutter of your house, you can just dial it in, or you can have it halfway if you want to see a little bit of it. uh, some of the worlds that they created for your work environment were really beautiful, like some crystal clear imagery. The graphics in there were just really crystal clear.
Did you go to
The
Tatooine and sit in the land speeder?
I didn't sit in a land speeder, but I was on the moon.
Oh,
I was on
oh.
the moon, and I was in I thought I went to Montana actually, which was unfortunate because I just wanted to get away from there again. But I mean, it was there was a beautiful scene with a bear and a lake and things, and it was breathtaking how crystal clear this was. So uh, above all, that is what I would say was my favorite experience of it. And then one other thing that they didn't really touch very strongly on in any of the reviews was panoramic photos. The simpleness of panoramic photos. We're not talking about like the spatial photos. This is just a normal panoramic photo. They showed me a series of them, and they wrap around you, but those are crystal clear. And you can imagine taking your own panoramic photos and being able to experience that. I think that's cool. I really did love that. That was something that I wasn't expecting. I did try their movie theater, their in-home movie theater, and I watched
Hmm.
Avatar and or a clip of Avatar. There again, I wasn't impressed. I wanted to be,
Oh,
but
really?
big
Why not?
screen, banter. I like I, I can watch it in that virtual environment and it's just absolutely beautiful. But in
Mhm.
that environment, it wasn't even as crystal clear as I wanted it to be. And that was disappointing.
Interesting.
It was 3D Avatar, and
Wow.
I don't know. I had seen better. I wanted it to be better. I was
Mhm.
disappointed in that.
Now,
Um
did you get to see the creepy eyes or anything or on anybody?
No, they didn't have time for that with the demo.
Okay.
They didn't actually do anything like that. I've seen the eyes though. One of my coworkers has one of them, and he has streamed himself, and it looks like he's always way happier than he actually is in real life. He's usually pretty relaxed. Okay. He's usually a pretty relaxed guy, but he's just like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and, "Hi, how are you today? I am doing great." So the uncanny valley is there. It still looks like him. I still could
Yeah.
accept it as him, but if you know the guy, it doesn't really fit. I saw another
Yeah.
one today that was more accurate and more relaxed. I guess you can take the time to make it be a little bit more relaxed, but it's still pretty alert. It's still
Mhm.
pretty superficial. It's different. Um,
Hmm. I mean, did anything like
Comfort.
what was your favorite part of it? Did anything stand out that was,
The panoramic
amazing?
photos was my favorite,
Really?
and
That's
which is
it? Okay.
silly because it's nothing special. It's nothing special. It's just a panoramic photo, but that was my favorite thing. I don't know. I hadn't seen anything like
Mhm.
that in the Quest or anything. I also
Mhm.
loved the eye tracking. I loved how
Mhm.
responsive it was. And the hand tracking. I would have my hand just really lightly resting on my lap, and I would just
Mhm.
be looking directly at the thing I wanted and just tap my finger, just tap it, and it
Hmm.
would select it without any kind of problem. It had so much responsiveness that I never didn't select what I wanted to select, and I never selected anything I didn't want to select. That was pretty impressive. Um, yeah. I really did enjoy that.
Mhm.
I even kind of stuck my hand under the desk just a little bit, and as long as it was just enough that there was a little bit of a track towards my hand, I was able to capture it. So that was pretty cool.
Hmm. So would
Yep.
you suggest to people would you suggest to everyone, "Hey, go out and give it a try," or is it
Yeah.
something that,
Everybody
you're
should
like,
give it a try.
"Yeah?
You may personally find that it hits all the sweet spots in what you're looking for. It's definitely possible. For me though, it didn't work. I just didn't
Mm.
love it enough. I have my Quest 3. I cherish it, and
Mhm.
I'm okay with having it instead of losing that cost to a device. As we talked about
Mhm.
before, I think maybe a 1500 price point might be something that would capture me much more
Hmm.
readily,
Even that much.
willing to
Okay.
spend. I might be willing to spend it that much. Yeah. And I will say one extra thing. If you do the demo, you do have the opportunity to say, please, can I have the second strap? Try the first one, of course,
Mm. Mhm.
but try the second one because, as we all know, as
Ooh,
virtual
I didn't
reality
get
people,
that.
we like that second strap. We
She
like that
asked
extra
for it.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to ask. I came there asking because I heard about it, and it made it so it didn't
Yes.
even feel like it was on my head. I loved it.
Wow.
I totally
That's
recommend it.
Yeah, when I went, it was like they
mm.
were busting people through the door and like
They were
next,
so
next.
quick.
So it was like the first,
Yeah.
yeah. So I had some, but you mentioned the panoramic photos. I definitely had some a wow moment with those too. And it's funny you
Hmm.
mentioned that because it's just like literally, it's just a panoramic, but like it's the
Right.
whole user
But it's
interface that
beautiful.
they've got down.
Yeah.
Like it's
Hmm.
such a clean look, and I think it's
Yep.
gonna be like a nicer looking. Like that has transferred from like PC to Mac. Like the interface was just a lot more sleek, but it's
Hmm.
just more functionality. I'm glad you got to set up the workspace because that's something I would have. And like I
Hmm.
kind of felt a little bit of FOMO. Like I didn't go home with it either, but I was like, wait a second, like I can work from home now, and I've been hitting my streak on Immerse like every week now. I do at least about 3 to 4 hours in there for my work computer. For some reason, they
Hmm.
let me install it in there. I thought I was going to have issues, but it actually made me see that I'm really not utilizing VR as much as I could be, which is shocking because, since
Wow.
2018, 2019, and I haven't really
Hmm.
worked in there. But now with the 3 and the pass through, like it's doable. Like, and I've been actually a little bit more productive while using that. So it's really interesting. Do I want to see some of the spillover from the user interface design? I agree with you. It's just such a nice system, but
Hmm.
like it's just not how I VR. I feel like maybe our mentality
Yeah.
about it is maybe slightly tainted because we have what we expect. We expect social interaction. We expect to be able
Yes.
to work in there. We expect to be able
Hmm.
to put on a show or play a game. So maybe our perception is a little bit skewed, and I think somebody coming in first, like it sounds crazy, but once these headsets get a little bit lower price, it might be a good entry because I feel like
Hmm.
it does the basics. So, but that's
Definitely.
cool. I'm glad you. Thank you for that
The
breakdown.
the the way you touched on that brings something really close to probably the way that I feel is that augmented reality, virtual reality. For me, my augmented reality is going to be really lightweight glasses or contact lenses. That is where I want that in my life because the use cases for augmented reality for me are going out in the world and seeing signs and going by places and getting information about places, being able to use my augmented reality to augment my life. I'm not
Mhm.
thinking of my augmented reality to replace my computer. I'm not. Um,
Mhm.
and I know that that probably is something that people are really looking to do, but I don't know. That's another reason why it doesn't fit me. Yeah.
Mm.
You've got virtual
And that's
reality
a
and you've
great
got
point.
augmented reality. Yep.
That's what I'm like
Mhm.
really looking forward to is like to be able to like you're not wearing a watch but you have your AR glasses on and you look at
Yeah.
your wrists and there's a time
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of other things like take your pill in half an hour whatever like you could put
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff on your
Mhm.
so
We'll
that's
get
what's
it.
exciting but
It's coming.
it's
It's
one
coming.
Yeah.
day hopefully
This
I'm
is
not
starting it, right? This is starting all of the this is starting all
yes
of the competition. The other companies are coming. We've been covering a lot of the headsets that have,
Mhm.
kind of sprung out of the woodwork
Even more
since
today.
Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
More today?
hmm
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit
Want
more
to hear
about
about these.
Samsung. Not much to talk about it, but Samsung, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
But
this is a picture
does
of
any?
me and Chris actually
Oh
when we
yeah.
did our demo. Yep.
That's awesome.
Chris had already done one demo and he came back to do his with me at the same time. Funny thing
Oh, I
is
didn't
that
know that.
the person who gave my demo gave him his demo and it was his first demo ever. The guy had never put on a VR headset. He only had the training just to show
hmm
Chris as his very first customer of the whole entire line of how to use it. And he actually sat down
hmm
with Chris and he's like, "Okay, let's have an interview and tell me what I can do better." So by the time he
Nice.
got to me, which was 2 weeks later or whatever, he had only done 30 demos.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
and
Well, let
that's
me
the
Yeah.
ask.
exciting part like
Mhm.
you have somebody sitting down there and explaining to somebody, hey, like here's how to do it. Like nobody's ever gotten that before in an establishment.
Mhm.
So that's kind. I
Mhm.
mean, save for a few, like
Yeah.
maybe overachieving Best Buy employee who might have happened to have a Quest One or a Oculus Go. Maybe they were like,
Mhm.
"Hey, here's how you use it." But for the first time, like you're setting an appointment to learn about this, and that's so exciting. And it sounds like you got more time with me. I think they were just like, hey, is this guy gonna walk out with it? But they were quick with me. But they you
Aw.
know, I'm glad you got some extra time. I was just like, oh man, this is cool. So
Johnny, you're so
Yeah.
intimidating.
It was
Do
a
you
good
guys have any
experience.
jump up and down? Everyone have any questions for Faye? You do? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Root.
Uh,
Why don't we?
So,
Root. What do you
so
have?
Faye,
hmm
can
wait,
you
let me make a phone
imagine?
you. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Can you imagine if a CEO of a company said to his employees, "Tomorrow, we're going to be handing out these headsets, and you'll
Uh-huh.
be doing 8 hours of work in the headset, and you'll have your all your applications, and you'll get a break once a day, and you can actually go search, play in VR games." What How do you feel, how would people respond to your experience? Would they go, "This is really cool, I can't wait"? And do you think they could stay in the headset for, maybe an hour at a time with the break? And do you feel like they could pull
Mhm.
up their spreadsheets and their Word docs? And what would that be like?
You've got access to the browser. So you can access Google Sheets, you can access websites, for your work and things like that. Um, I think maybe from that kind of productivity standpoint, it would be okay. Like I said, with the second strap, it's very comfortable. It's a lot like a normal situation. People have also modded it so it can be a Bobo strap. And if so, then you've got the ultimate level of comfort. So I think comfort wise, it would be fine to be in there. Now, working in there, if you I think it's easier. It doesn't have a mouse. There's no mouse. There's a trackpad. You can use a trackpad, but because it's essentially an iPad is what you're using, and it has the scrolling method of an iPad or an iPhone as you're scrolling through things with your fingers and things. Um, but there's no mouse. Once that
And
happens,
how's the
eventually,
keyboard? I think for me, I
it's
would have to
better.
have a keyboard,
Yeah,
right? I'd have to have a keyboard in front of me.
it is resizable. and I spent a lot of time resizing it down and down and down and down to the point where I could put my fingers directly on it and try typing, and it didn't work the way that I wanted it to.
Yeah,
Uh,
that
Mm.
I would want my own keyboard just, piped into it via USB or whatever.
yeah, that'd be
So,
cool. I think that's going to be a huge step is the
hmm
keyboard
Hmm.
I think every
for
person's
sure.
response to your question would be different. Yeah.
The one
Hmm.
thing that would be cool, I have a lot of daughters, and I was playing Battleship with one of my daughters today, and she's a professional. And I asked her the other day, I said, do you think that, like there's millions of people playing games at work right now? Right? I said,
hmm
and I'm at work, she's at work, and here we are playing Battlefield. It was so fun. But I wonder, like in the headset, people are going to be gaming, a lot of gaming, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it might be something that they, corporate wise, they have to lock down and things like that. I mean,
You,
you hear about things like with Ready Player One that they locked down the headsets when you were working, except for like an hour break a day or something to play games and things. So
Right,
who
right.
knows? Who knows
you
what they're
don't.
gonna
It's
do?
going to be
That's
wild.
funny you bring that up because I'm like the opposite. Like sometimes I'm sneaking in work when I'm like hanging out in VR. Now that I've been doing that lately, and I'm like, so maybe like it's two sides of it, right? Yes, I'm very boring, and I just I don't know. Like I get into my Excel sheets and everything, but uh,
Ooh,
that's a
Excel
good
instead
point.
of
I
gaming.
mean,
Hmm.
yeah, like let me. It's more like you take a little bit of work later just so you're not so screwed the next day. But
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
very exciting. Like it's a new way. Like yes, it's a new way to interact and play games. But they call me corny or whatever. But like I'm really enjoying the working with multiple screens, and because I've
Mhm.
never really tried it, it hasn't been there. Like I tried it with the Quest 2, passed through black and white. I don't know, but things are starting to get better, and who knows, you may go into the Apple store a couple years from now and all the employees are going to be wearing these or whatever version of it all the
Oh, I
time when
guarantee
they're at
it
work. So
for working.
it's
Yeah,
exciting.
But
it is exciting. I'm excited to
Hmm.
see it.
Well,
Art.
I'd say that is a step up because Johnny, you and I know somebody who was actually a licensed therapist who is a therapist online with people, and basically they would be brought into her and she'd be typing back and forth with them, giving them therapy, and during all those sessions with people, didn't know this until the last part. She was in VR with us. She was in VR playing while she was supposed to be focusing and giving
Goofing
her
off with
time.
Draculus.
Yeah, yeah, she was hanging out and all of a sudden when I heard typing, I'm like, "God, you're typing all the time." And she's like, "Oh yeah, no, I'm just typing back to a client." I'm like, "Client?" She goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm in a therapy session right now." I'm like, "Are you kidding right
wow,
now? You're supposed to be giving therapy to somebody who's in need
wow,
and you're in here with us in VR. What the hell is wrong with you?" Yeah, she did that
Holy
all the time and
cow.
we had no idea all that time what
Oh
was
my
happening,
gosh.
So that was crazy.
Wow.
But so at
That is
least maybe
crazy.
this way. Yeah.
A
Art,
brave
what
a
did you have?
brave new way to slack off.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
kidding, you
definitely.
know. Wow.
So, Art, what
Art,
you
what you
got
have to
for
bring
me?
up?
So I wanted to continue something both Faye and Johnny both combined talked about that goes into something I brought up the other week in QTC Gamer with Todd and Eric and Dee Dee that they have a YouTube channel. They were
Mhm.
talking about the Apple Vision Pro and something that I mentioned on the in the chat there, and they talked about also was Apple is fundamentally missing even if they're I get that they're coming from a different philosophical perspective of quote unquote spatial computing, and there is a place for that argument. There really is. I mean, between just coming to it from more a XR perspective, but something they're critically missing is social VR because the personas, like you were saying, Johnny, like not having any kind of social VR in application. We talked about this on QTC Gamer and a few other places I've seen it talked about too. It's this is a phone call. I mean, it's weird to think about, but we're having a party line virtual reality phone call and using just a
Mhm.
FaceTime application with the personas, which as amazing as they are, I mean, they've got the creepy uncanny valley thing to be sure, but even taking that on the nose and accepting that, just having a FaceTime call with those personas with an IRL face, there's no utility improvement to that. That does not do anything that just having your waving at your phone doesn't do. Social VR is the next evolution in telephony. It really is. I mean, I get that from the public Swiss
Mm-hmm.
telephone network versus I get the difference in the technical hierarchies and all that stuff. I mean, that's what I do for a living. But functionally,
Mhm.
if we close our eyes right now and just hurt each other, we're having a party line phone conversation. And Apple is totally missing a fundamental part, even from a spatial computing perspective, of not having social VR, or if they want to call it social spatial computing or whatever. And that is so
Yes.
critical. I don't want them to fail. I'm saying this from a point of I hope that even if it's a closed
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem Apple version of it, I'm
Mhm.
not happy with that, but they critically need that. Having a FaceTime persona, that's a step backwards from just having an IRL, persona. I mean, just having your
Yeah,
real face
it
in
is.
FaceTime. So,
Right.
what's the point of? I mean, none of us are IRL. We're all avatars.
Mhm.
So they are taking a technological evolutionary step backwards with a fundamentally improved technology. And it's just like they are missing a critical point right now, even from a spatial
Right.
computing philosophy. They want to build it this way. So I really hope that they catch on to that. And I just wanted you guys to deliberate on that because like that is a critical
Oh
thing they
yeah,
really need to get on the
I
ball on.
agree. Mhm. Oh yeah, we
So I'll get
definitely
you're
off my
need
high
totally
Apple
horse now.
right.
VR.
No, it's not. And the fun, you bring up a good point, right? And it's not about Apple versus Meta and all that. Like to
Hmm.
me, it's about the consumer. Who's going to do stuff that's going to push the other one? Who's going to give me a better product and bang for my buck? Like it's funny because
Mhm.
you really don't need to you don't need like a fancy car or anything in here, but now it's like, well, I'm not. It doesn't impress me that it costs a lot. The only thing that impresses me is the screen. But at the same time, like
Right.
I don't want to discourage people from joining VR. But like Art brings up a good point. Like, okay, everyone was complaining Meta didn't give us legs. Well, shoot, you didn't even get arms in the Apple Vision Pro. So like, it's just a
Yes.
different way of looking at it, right? Like, I don't want to discourage people, but it's not a Apple versus any. Like, it's we need to move this technology forward. And you're right, they're missing the mark on this social thing because that's the hook for me. My social
Mhm.
interactions, my friends, my projects, everything in here is what really keeps me coming back and trying to do things I've never done before. Like, and that is all the social aspect of it, and that's none of what you're getting a nice screen, but it's not there yet. And I hope it does. I'm with you. I hope they figure that out and don't miss the mark on that because that's what's going to get people to put down their hard-earned 35, 4,000, whatever, and they're going to say, wow, like I want to go to this, or I want to go visit mom the best way I
Mhm.
can, like I want to hang out with Mama Dracula's in a roller coaster and whatever. So
Mhm.
this is you bring up a huge point, Arc. So thank you.
So this might be a completely wrong point of view. It might be a complete waffle, but I'm going to go with it. Based on what we've talked about here, it does make me wonder, is it possible that they are rolling it out with those personas because they want a certain level of comfort with people who aren't used to VR, who aren't used to avatars, that they want to start with something that's more closer to home, to start reaching audiences that are not used to avatars, thinking that it will bring them in. I mean, they're bringing them in at this huge price point, yeah, but maybe they are expecting to keep this going and going as the price point goes down and down and still have these avatars, and maybe that's possibly their viewpoint, is that it's easing the community in because they think that it's going to be how everybody has an Apple iPhone, everybody has one. Maybe eventually everybody will have one of these headsets, and they're thinking about the users that don't have avatars, and they're just trying to
I
ease it
think
in.
you're
I don't
right.
know,
I think you're
because
right,
I
I
Ben.
hope
think
you're
Apple's
you
right.
got it
I
been
hope you're
spot
right.
on.
so
Yeah, for sure.
Apple's been so concerned about the easiest way of being able to present technology to people. Like
Mhm.
a Mac is marketed in that way, ease of use, comfortableness. Yeah. So.
I think what they're truly gonna do is they're gonna make it so you can make this persona with your phone. So when you're holding your phone up and into these
Hmm.
calls, like that phone has a lidar on it, so it could, in theory, produce a 3D rendered model in real time in a virtual reality or mixed reality, whatever, spatial, whatever we're calling it, right? So
Hmm.
I think eventually those phones would be able to produce a 3D object with your face in there, with your persona, even if you're not in the
Hmm.
Apple Vision Pro. And I think they're really going to double down, and you're going to see like people visiting your space. I do think they have something on the on the horizon, like they're planning something. I think they're just
Mhm.
trying to figure out all the kinks first with all this technology. But I think they're going to be able to put
Yeah.
people in different people's living rooms. I think they're going to just come out
Oh
with
yeah.
something that's going to blow everybody away. But I don't think it's there yet.
Yeah, I think this is the
Mm,
start.
So,
I think this is just to
hmm
provide a level of comfort in the beginning. That's kind of where I was
mhm,
going with that. Yeah.
mhm.
you got it
Okay.
right, I
Does
think.
anybody else have
Thank
any
you.
questions for Faye about her experience? No?
Nope.
Pretty awesome though. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
it was
That's a
a
cool
cool
picture too.
experience. Glad I got a chance. Yeah, it was fun.
Right on. Well, okay. Well, thank you, Faye. That's very, very cool. I
Of
like that.
course. Mhm.
Um,
Welcome, Faye.
Yeah.
so
Thank you, Faye.
let's speaking of the headset wars and everything going on. So Samsung, their XR headset may be coming out this year. They're saying.
Ooh.
It is being made in partnership with Google, which is awesome. And of course, it will be using the Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 2 chipset, which everybody is kind of popping around now. They're saying it's going to be cheaper than the AVP, obviously. It will still have high-end performance, and they're actually saying too that the rumor is that 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 Samsung actually delayed bringing this out so that it would help to stand up against the AVP better, and they kind of wanted to see what was going to
Oh.
be coming out there. So that's kind of a little rumor.
Smart move.
Smart, very
Well,
Mhm.
smart.
yeah, yeah.
Good
I
to.
mean, but they're gonna, it's Samsung. They're gonna have the high-end performance, the high-end displays, dual OLED screens, and they said 3,500 pixel per inch density. And possibly
Mm.
this is going to be coming out the second half of the year. And I'm kind
Hmm.
of curious if anybody is in like super intrigued with this.
Well,
And listen, Samsung is Samsung, right?
I'm
I mean, I,
super
yeah,
Yes,
I like Samsung. What are
like
you feeling about it?
definitely.
and here's the thing, right? Now you're bringing into, it's not who can make the better headset, it's what do you have to offer in that
To
headset.
offer, yeah.
And if they're going to be working with
Mhm.
Google and you're going to be talking mixed reality, look at all the data points they have in the Google Earth. Like, they, if anybody can start integrating stuff and have a platform to say, hey, you want to put your art in the park, well, we've got the park already scanned and you can line it up. This is the powerful part right here. I think the sleeping giant is going to be Alphabet, Google, whatever you call them. They've got a ton of data that can easily be integrated into something in here to create something amazing with mixed like, it's just a really
Mhm.
exciting time right now. Everybody's got their own angle, but watch out for Google. They've got tons of data and things
Oh,
they can
big time.
implement
Yeah.
It's
into this
exciting.
that's proprietary.
Mhm.
So
Ah,
I,
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm more
I just
excited
love
about this
it's
than the
competition.
Apple
interesting.
Vision.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
I
It's
just love
it's
the
heating up
competition.
though. And then
Mhm.
you have people using the same chipset. You have people that are using some of the same components. I mean, it's kind of interesting because it's still some of the same high quality. And I don't know. I'm
Mhm.
I'm really kind of excited to see it. It seems like it's just revving up. I feel like we're at the beginning of like the Indy
Definitely.
500, and they're and they're all just about to
Woo.
start going.
Yeah, it's
Would you
exciting.
guys? How about
Mhm.
anybody out here? Anybody interested in the Samsung headset? Would you consider this as something for yourself, or are you married to your Meta, or what's the deal in there? Anybody? Hmm?
I-
No?
I'll
I don't know. I'm
piggyback
kind of
on
intrigued.
I'll piggyback on the
Mm,
data that they have, right? And so I
mhm.
can imagine that we are all
Mhm.
hanging out in a Google Earth park somewhere or at a festival, right? Or dropping into the Boom Festival in Portugal or just actually dropping in and we're there, right? So I'm
Mhm.
curious where they take us with all that data.
Hmm.
Mm.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I don't know. I
A
mean, that
whole nother
remains to
way
be
to look
seen.
at it, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's all
Yeah.
kinds of
Mhm.
things you can look at. A lot. There was this one thing, man. I'm so sorry. I forgot if it was Prada or Versace or so. There was one fashion house that did this AR exhibit where you would look at the Eiffel Tower and they'd put something on it. If I could find the
Mhm.
article, I'll put it for next week. But it was really
Mhm.
interesting. So if you were there, you could hold up your device or your phone and you would see the augmented reality art that was on there with your phone. So
Cool.
the sky is really
That's
the
cool.
limit. They've got those games like what Pokemon Go.
Mhm.
What was
Mhm.
that other one that I forgot the name of it? I was so hooked on that. I don't even remember the name
Oh, the
now.
little
You would
Ingram
go and get
Sky
these
creatures.
Patrol.
points.
Oh my
Ingress,
god.
yeah. Whoever said ingress, that's right. Things like that now
Ooh.
can really happen. Like you would actually have to, like, you'd lose your base and stuff. You try and collect data, but like this is there's so much they could do. So it really is exciting. You could, mesh your pre-existing worlds that are already there and lay them on top of the actual,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
it,
yeah.
Mm,
and if you think of
that's
the,
cool.
I hate to, not trying to be a corpo, but you start looking at advertisements, right? Like this is
Hmm.
huge. Like you could have huge advertisements or anything like this, or your art, or
Yeah,
it doesn't always have to be ads, right? You know, maybe somebody could put a play on the park, and you would see them with their costume, but it would be like it's just the sky's the
Hmm.
limit. It's very
yeah,
Oh yeah.
fascinating.
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh
Well
Definitely.
yeah.
said. Well said.
For
Well,
augmented
yeah.
reality, I'm looking forward to changing my environment. That's what augmented reality is all
Mhm.
about. I want to change my house. I want to change my paint colors. I want the stars for the ceiling. I want pictures of my friends all over that I've just easily done without having to nail things into the wall. Yeah.
Well, that's all well and good,
That's
Faye,
right.
but
That's right.
I kind of would like Thunder, down under and Chippendales, and I think that would be my augmented reality. So I don't know what you're
Oh,
talking
Okay,
sure,
about,
we
but
so
can do
whatever.
that.
Hello, boring. No. Um, but so
you'll be
yeah,
there
so guys,
soon.
here's yeah, I know. So well, okay, so with regard to that, yeah, Samsung, I'm super interested in that. I like Samsung. I've been with their phones a long time. I have my iPhone, but I also have had my Samsungs. Although I'm kind of looking to some Motorola phones now because there's some intriguing stuff. Samsung's kind of a little slowing down on their phone issue, but um, so guys, let me ask you, does anybody out here have the Wise cameras? If you do, let me see you jump a little bit and see if anybody does.
Oh,
Oh, you
Ooh,
do.
oh, okay.
I have
So,
one also.
oh, do you? Okay, so listen, so back in September, there was a huge snafu where people were seeing into other people's homes. People were seeing thumbnails and posting thumbnails on websites of strangers' homes. There was something even from entirely different time zones. I mean, it was crazy. Well, it's happened again. And one guy
Oh
was talking
no.
about how he got a motion detection notification. He's like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" He looks at it and it was a stranger walking around in their own living room, right? And this guy was watching this going, "What is happening?"
Oh
And apparently it
no.
was due to some kind of power outage and there was an overload or something. And so now Wise, of course, has added in an extra layer of verification, for each of those users before they, could see thumbnails. They force logouts and all that stuff for the people that use the app. But I mean, come on. Who has not walked through your house in your underwear, in your skivvies, completely naked, run into the shower? Let's all be honest about this. All right. Let's just say it. Let's just say what it is. And can you imagine? Listen, I have no desire to to even set up. I've got a bunch of cameras to set up when I move, and I'm like, now I'm thinking twice about that. I'm like, oh man,
Oh my gosh.
what if I'm like running to the shower and I'm like, oops, I forgot my shampoo or something. I'm like, I do not want that. And believe me, they do not want that. They do not want to see that. All of a sudden, they'll get a thumbnail
Stop
alert and they'll
it.
see me and they'll be like, my eyes, my eyes. I don't want to be responsible for anyone's blindness. So, that
Shush you.
said, I can I can only imagine. Um, do now you guys are saying, Johnny, you didn't have any problem with your wise, apparently, right? So you were okay.
Mine is like a whole no, I had a lot, I threw it out. So let's just
Oh,
say,
all
okay, I try
right.
to keep this brief, but I bought this Wise
Yeah.
camera at one of these Amazon return stores where,
Your
like,
neighbor was a
they
chick,
buy the
right? Who's all
returns. No,
yeah, I know what you're
no.
watching.
So you go to this store and it's all Amazon returns and it's like $1 or $2. So yeah, that's where I bought my Wise cam. So as soon as I read this and preparing the slides, speaking of slides, sorry. Uh,
That's okay.
after reading the slides, I was like, whoa, I need
Ah,
to
there it
throw this
is.
thing out because it's the same exact one. And I'm like, wow, I bought this,
Oh,
like,
I
and it
have
was
one
open, and I'm
Oh.
like, meh,
too.
it works. Like, I used it for my 3D printer so I could see if it, like, messes up, but yeah, I turned it off for now because now
Oh
I'm like,
man.
oh, I mean, it's just my 3D printer,
Yeah.
but you bring up a good point. This network security, and probably you probably shouldn't get a used camera no matter what. So
Oh no, no,
Mhm.
no.
I don't know that anybody saw my 3D print, but
Anybody saw you
yeah,
walk into the
I would
shower?
be a lot more aware. Which,
Can
well,
you
you know,
tidy
it's
whities?
funny
Are
because
you?
I'm like really. yeah, I like really techie, and I didn't even think about it. I'm like, oh, it's a good deal
Your
for a
thong,
camera,
Johnny?
and
Was
then
it
I'm
your
like, wait a
thong?
second. Wow,
Sorry, I
you
just
know,
cannot.
it's I'm more of a boxers. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my god.
no
No,
mankinis here. Sorry.
mankinis. Aw. You've ruined everyone's image of you now. Look at all the women are leaving. They're like, yeah, peace
Yes.
out, man. But it's funny because you hear about how like the baby monitors and people are always hacking that and everything. And so
Right.
I have gone through
Right.
different monitors and things like that to try to keep an eye on my parents through the years, set up in the room if they, for emergencies. I've done the doorbells, I've done the pagers, I've tried everything for caregiving that you can use. And I came across this one thing which was awesome. It is actually not connected to any Wi-Fi or anything. It's actually literally you plug this camera in and then you put batteries in the receiver, you turn it on, and you are getting your visual without it having to be attached to Wi-Fi. It literally just communicates between itself internally. So you don't have to worry about that. And it's really amazing.
That
It's
is
got a
cool.
great picture and everything. Yeah. Yeah, it was really nice. And so that thing was a godsend, and so it was pretty cool. And so I mean something like that, I still get worried about that because I've got a ton of baby monitors that I tried over the years and things like that. But after hearing about all the hacking and
Well,
everything like that, that had me a little nervous.
Yeah, I
you
can
are
understand
probably
that.
safer than using a regular, online. I mean,
Hmm.
no product is safe in regards to network security because even at that point, if somebody really
Hmm.
wanted to, that's a signal, and you can I guess hack that signal or and decode it. But I do think that now in the current state of things, what you have
Hmm.
the private signal that's probably safer than any of these cameras really. I mean,
Yeah.
again, like I like to say, it's a falsehood. There's still that window, and if you have a brick,
Hmm.
you can throw that brick in the window and just walk right in the house. Same thing with
Yeah.
network security. If you want in, you'll get in.
You'll get in.
So you just
Yeah.
got to be
Yeah, that's
safe.
true.
And
Yeah.
so
No, I
Hmm.
agree. I agree. I'm also feeling like I agree right now that I'm feeling like I need to move a little bit because, I've been
Are you
standing
feeling a
here
little
listening to
antsy?
Faye's wonderful story. I know, I'm
Oh
thinking
yeah,
that. I'm
we've
thinking,
just
Johnny,
been
you got
sitting
anything going
around
on?
too long, I think.
I know. Any kind of tunes,
yes,
Johnny? You got any kind of tunes? Because I'm thinking it's time for a dance
Dance
break.
break!
Come on,
Woo!
guys.
Everybody join us
Woo!
out here and
Yeah.
dance. Woo!
Nice. Yeah.
Everybody, come on, don't be shy. Come, let loose. Woo!
jump up, jump around, jump up, jump
Jump
up,
Do it
jump
up,
up, do
get
it
around,
up, do it up,
down.
do it up, do it
jump,
up.
jump,
Woo,
jump.
woo, woo.
Staying
Feel like I'm at Mrs. Doubtfire.
Woo, woo.
Jump, jump, jump.
Woo.
Yeah, there's my kitten.
I love that film.
Well, I like music.
Yeah.
Drop the bass.
Yeah. All right. That was
Uh,
nice.
Okay, got our cardio
Oh,
wow.
everybody. All
Yay.
right.
I
Get the little
love
bouncies out.
I love how much I can dance in here. Like I cannot dance that long in real life ever, but in here, it's all good. I can go all
I'm
night.
still
There's
feeling. I'm
no
all like,
fear.
still feeling a little winded.
Me too, a little bit.
Speaking of moving and grooving, we this
Mhm.
is really kind of interesting. So there's a company, Glider, GLYDR, Glider. They made this hoverboard that you can control VR games with your feet. I mean, this is
With
crazy.
your feet?
Yeah, it's this dual analog foot controller for
Whoa.
video or VR games and things like that. And they're saying, okay, so it takes the strain off your hands during long sessions, which is a little ironic because I was suffering from that myself this
Heyo.
past couple days. And
Oh, yeah.
they're saying too that there are functions on it such as you can mute others, push to talk, screenshots, jumping, ducking, shooting, things like that. You can trigger all of that with your toes.
Oh,
Okay.
just
It's
And
so
like
for
I
cool.
stomp on it to
oh,
take a
it's
photo.
amazing. Oh yeah,
Uh,
no. And for
Imagine
I
how
love that.
satisfying to stomp mute somebody, just like enough of you, Dracula, stomp, and then like That's it.
I love that.
Well, they've got
Oh
it,
my god, that's great.
because it connects via Bluetooth for VR, but you have to use it sitting down for VR
Uh-huh.
and all that.
Well,
Um, but they're saying too that like to move, like if you're going to move front and back and all that stuff, there's some different things that they have. There was actually now this was a Kickstarter, but it's not the first of its kind. There was actually another type of Kickstarter that came out called Cyber Shoes in 2018.
That
Um,
sounds
ooh, I
and
fun.
remember
basically
those.
you would
Yeah.
sit down like for the hoverboard, what you do is you would rock your feet in the direction you want to go. And
Mm,
it's like
mhm.
full movement in 3D space. They're saying that should be, that should be possible and everything. But the one in 2018, the Cyber Shoes, that was also a Kickstarter, and you would wear that sitting down. It had rollers that were embedded in the shoes, and so it would
Ooh,
allow your feet to kind of glide over them, and the sensors would transmit the movement into VR, which is incredible. And Faye, it also these things decrease the risk of motion sickness, which is something you would be
that's
intrigued with.
really cool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Could
I
Well,
definitely
mean,
use those.
would you guys be looking
Hmm,
into this
and
kind of
then
stuff? What would you guys be doing with this?
I like it
I would for that.
because and not to go back to Apple Vision Pro, but one thing they did do
Mhm.
right is accessibility. There's a lot of
Mhm.
accessibility features. Not everybody has fingers, not everybody has, you know, certain appendages and
True.
this is another way for people to interact
Yeah.
in here. So I really like seeing this accessibility stuff and I like
Mhm.
different ways to interact. So I think this is a great idea and I welcome all of these human interface devices we're going to see for use in AR, XR, SC, whatever, elemental P,
Mhm.
whatever we're calling it. So,
Elemental
Now you know your ABCs. Okay, nice. Well, I'm telling you, I mean, it's this just stuff is just amazing. Everything people are coming out with is incredible. I like it because you know what? I'm basically a lazy ass, and I want to be sitting down, and I I don't want to be getting up and moving around. I'm like, this is sweet. Sign me up, you know. So,
Nice.
but with that said, I mean, I'm with all this stuff coming out now and everything. I didn't even
Mhm.
know about the cyber shoes. That was 2018, but that would have been intriguing. Faye, you might have known. Did you know about them? Because
It
you're
sounded
all into the other
familiar.
stuff.
When you said it,
Mm-hmm.
it sounded familiar, but I didn't know if it
Mm-hmm.
was more like a cat VR where it was like, but
Mm-hmm.
only with shoes that you would just kind of roller skate in your chair forwards or
Mm-hmm.
backwards. That could be a
Okay.
thing. I think that
Yeah.
might have been what that was. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
long time
Well,
ago.
I like that. Art, did you have a question? Comment?
Yeah, and Faye kind of tipped on what I was going to go at. And I have a catwalk C2, so I mean, and this is
Yay.
something that was brought up at one of Shane's AMAs a couple weeks ago about the holodeck and like omnidirectional treadmills and different locomotion solutions. I saw this
Mhm.
too, and I mean, I what I'd really love to see is Meta actually at a fundamental operating system level have an option where like things like this you could input which locomotion solution you're going with, or whether by default, it would be your
Yeah.
thumbsticks, obviously, but like the operating system itself would then fundamentally then take over and natively take your feet as locomotion solution. Whether again, like I'm a catwalk owner, which I can't overstate how much I love the catwalk C2, great
Mm-hmm.
exercise and all that. Or this is a solution, and and then you just would natively use your feet as a locomotion solution, and it would give a much more intuitive feel to XR. So that's I don't think that necessarily Meta is going to do that with the Quest 4, but that would be. I mean, they're going to have the foveated rendering with eye tracking, like Mark Zuckerberg was saying, and I'm sure other improvements as well. I sincerely hope that they have native support for this, where you can, like I said, toggle on the ability for like the hoverboard as your locomotion solution, or the uh, catwalk C2, or whatever the current generation at that point is, or the shoes that you're talking about as well, the roller shoes and all the other different locomotion solutions. You can like select those, and those replace your
Yep.
thumbsticks. That I think would be one of the most
That would
innovative
be
things that
awesome.
Meta could do going forward. I so hope to do that. I don't know if it is, but if anybody has any contact with Meta, whether it's Shane or whoever, or like, Thrill Seeker, whoever, please, try to get them to, that would be just such a great idea if Meta would do that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'll
Give
stop
us
from there.
more solutions,
Well,
choices.
from your mouth
Mhm.
to Zucky's ears. Let's see. Let's see what
Mm,
happens.
yeah.
But no, that is very very cool.
Mhm.
Now obviously we were talking about the cameras earlier too, and there's some amazing stuff like these things out here, the hoverboards and all that. But there's also
Mhm.
some scary stuff that comes along with technology, as we know, right? So
Ooh.
here's a really weird thing with regard to biometric security. Apparently, when you swipe your touchscreen, your fingerprints can be recreated now. And there's Chinese and US researchers have shown that there's a way they can do this and enable attacks using your finger swiping friction sounds on your phone. I mean,
Oh,
what is that? This is insane. And they have found so far that they can attack up to about 27.9% of a partial fingerprint via the sound characteristics. They can figure it out, use that as an attack, and within 5 attempts, they can figure out within 5 attempts after you've swiped, they can try within 5 attempts and they can recreate your fingerprint. Um, and
jeez.
this is what's crazy. Because actually the fingerprint authentication market, I had no idea, is going to be worth about 100 billion by 2032. And you got people in here trying to hack this and get into your stuff. I mean, to be able to literally, I swipe my phone. We all swipe our phones, you know.
We do.
Johnny's on Tinder all the time, swiping left and right, right? So, you know, so I mean, that is insane. And so what's happening now is people are sensitive to this. So what people are doing is they're looking out for photos that show the details of their hands and their fingerprints, and they're trying to delete them. And they're also some people are disabling their mics on their phones so that the sound can't be recorded. I mean, people are going to extremes on some of this.
Wow.
I had no idea
There's
this was
that
such a
that's a
thing.
level that I never thought would end up
it,
being something
If
you'd have
if
to
I
watch
Isn't
can
out
that weird?
for.
interfere.
I mean, how is it
it's
even
it's
possible?
just like I say, like I
Yeah.
hate to scare. I'm not trying to scare you, but nothing's really safe. If somebody really wants to figure it out, these are all systems that we've made up to this
Hmm.
point,
More
right?
and more
The AIs
things.
haven't created systems yet, and a person created this system, and a person can I guess infiltrate or defeat these systems, especially with a lot of these systems being older, and now the tools
Hmm.
that you can do to use to defeat these are now becoming like it's sort of simple if you think about it, right? They're hearing the difference in sound when you're swiping on your screen and then analyzing it multiple times, coming up with a most likely image of your fingerprint, and that's kind
Mhm.
of scary that people can do that. So yeah, I mean
Yeah.
there's a whole nother way of safety now, and they've got to
Hmm.
come up with a way to authenticate things a different way now. It's not just your fingerprint. In a few years it's going to be, hey, we've got everybody's retina. It's not going to be, we've leaked your username, your retina's image has been leaked, your fingerprint has been
Oh
leaked. So
my
Hmm.
God. Here's
there's
your
a lot
whole
of things to think about.
biodata file. Here.
There's a lot of
Mhm.
Yeah.
stuff with regard
Um,
to
in
personal
the
privacy. I mean, I had one of those 23andMe
Luna.
kits, and I wanted to do that. I actually bought the major kit like probably a couple years ago. And honestly, I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, I was, him and Han, is it safe? What can you do?
Oh
People can
yeah.
put your DNA at a
23andMe.
crime scene, whatever.
Mhm.
Well, and I
Mhm.
was going to do it, right? Because my family has health things, and I'm like, I kind of want to figure out what I could possibly be looking at and figure out different things. But then I started to see some of these FBI guys who are like, retired FBI, and they're telling why you don't do one of those kits and all this stuff. And I
Yeah.
feel bad because this kit was expensive. It was like 150 bucks or something.
I
And
really
I ended
wanted to
up
do it, but I
letting it
decided not.
expire. Because I was scared. I'm not going to lie. I was a little nervous about it.
Yeah. Same.
And I feel real bummed out because I kind of still want that information. I still need that
I do
information, but at the
too.
same time, I'm really nervous about that. I don't feel
I'm
safe,
nervous.
you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Too.
Mhm.
Our the person who does our camera streaming, Lunar, wants to say something. What did you
Oh,
try to
yeah,
say there,
Lunar. Mhm.
Lunar?
yeah, so with the fingerprint unlocking and stuff,
Mhm.
your
Mhm.
fingerprint is not a key, at least in the US, legally speaking, and the police can use your fingerprints against your will that they take off of you to unlock your
Mhm.
phone. So you should not use a
What?
fingerprint unlock to secure your phone. That is not
Whoa.
secure at all.
A very
Wow.
You should
wise
use
suggestion. I
a
love
PIN
that.
number or a
Wow.
password if you're concerned about security for your phone.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Mm.
Okay.
Well, how
Thank
many
you for
killers have
the
they
advice.
caught with like the cup in the garbage can and they lift the print off the cup? Which I'm not against killers getting
Oh
away, but
yeah.
he's absolutely
Totally.
right. Like they got you
Did
if
you
they
say you're
just
not
sit out
against
there
killers
or they
getting
just take.
away?
No, I guess I
What just
said that wrong.
happened
Like
there?
it's not that I'm
You're all
We know
against
what you meant.
killers getting
Wait,
caught.
get
I
it.
guess you know what
I
I meant.
heard that. I heard that.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Dexter. No,
Oh, what?
thank you. I don't want. Yes, yes. Set them all
Your
free. No,
alternate
but
persona is
you know,
starting to show itself.
Mhm.
it's kind of like you really don't know, and they can use that against you.
Mhm.
So that's a
Mhm.
very good suggestion, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you don't know if you throw something out. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we're going to extremes now, right? But
That's
let's
pretty
say
extreme.
20, 30 years from now, right? Let's say 20, 30 years from now, you can buy, your own, Dracula's first DNA lab. You get someone's DNA. Why can't you grow their fingerprint out of that DNA? Like, I know
Mm.
it's advanced,
Mm,
it's way in the future, but if
Mhm.
you
but
drop a
it's
hair,
there.
technically they can figure out, they can clone you. Like, I mean, at
Yeah.
what point does it
Mhm.
become the only limiting factor is what technology these bad guys have, and whether it's worth it, what they can get from
Right.
it. So I
Yeah.
agree with that. Thank you for bringing that up. And I'm not going to use any fingerprints now, not because I'm
Yeah.
want the killers to go free or anything, but it's a quite a
Mhm.
concern. So
And
Yeah,
additionally,
that's
with
Are
interesting.
the
we
keyboards, the
Oh.
keys that
Mhm.
pop out, you also should not use those because it makes it really easy for people that are recording to steal your information that you're typing in.
What do you mean
And
by
mm.
the keys
How,
that pop out?
but
he, he,
so,
yeah.
like when
he's
you
saying
touch a
if
key on
someone's
your
recording you
keyboard, it
putting in
like
your
comes
code,
up
yeah.
like above your finger, so you can see what key you're typing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Attackers
Mhm.
can use that to steal your information. And they can get it from like
Oh.
Oh my
reflective
God.
surfaces, people's glasses, sunglasses, windows.
Wow.
They
We're
can,
talking
That's
about
yeah.
TV shows
yeah,
and
it's
movies
true.
here,
And
but at
also,
what point
your
does it
phone,
Yeah.
cross that
if it's
threshold?
compromised and it's laying on
Mhm.
your
Yeah.
desk, can be used as a keylogger.
Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God. That's
Makes you
crazy.
afraid to live.
It
If anyone
With
does.
these
wants to
kind of
Well,
know
things.
it,
from
I'm
Allie,
I'm
I'm
nervous about my
starting
biometric
a
safe for my
commune,
firearm, you know? It's like I got a
starting a
fingerprint thing on that, you know?
non-technology
So,
commune on
Sorry,
Maui.
we couldn't hear you. I have
oh
to
yeah, jump up
megaphone
and
you.
down if you got to
Jump
say
up
something,
and
guys.
down when you want to
Go.
talk.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
okay.
saying,
What's up, Rip?
I'm moving to Maui. I'm going to start a non-technology commune where we just grow fruits and veggies, and
All
we won't
right.
have any of these issues.
I will
That
come and
sounds
visit
safer.
for sure. Never
Yeah.
been to Hawaii, so I think it would
Definitely.
be nice. Um, wow. Now I've got a couple more things. I know we're running a little over here, guys, but I do want to talk about a couple things real quick. This is amazing. So Elon Musk, he has this startup called Neuralink, right? And
Mm.
what they did is they got approval
Yes.
by the FDA for this. And what's happening is they put brain implants this is amazing, the technology. The brain implants and the implants they have, a person can control a computer mouse just by thinking. And
Whoa.
it just they want to have them be able to control all external technologies with this. And what they did is the implants were all done by a robot. Actually, they used a robot to do it, so it was extremely accurate and precise. And they have really great ideas. They want to restore lost vision, motor function, speech.
Mhm.
um I mean, I love that.
I
My
do too.
dad's lost his vision, right? And so for me, I would give anything if I could give him back his vision, right? And if something like that came about, I would, in a heartbeat, I would be all over that. And
Mhm.
they received the approval from the FDA to do the first of the human clinical trials. But I mean, this is incredible. People can control a computer mouse by thinking about it. That is insane.
That's
Look at how
insane.
quick, how rapidly things are moving, right?
can
And our
Mhm.
can you
brain is the
connect to
most
more
amazing
than one
computer of all.
device with that? Like,
No, at
how
this
many
point, they
devices
want you
can I
to
do with that?
eventually. Now I don't think you can do that, but that is the goal. They want people to be, they want to be able to have it connect to all external technologies eventually, you know.
Wow.
So,
Hmm.
I
I
mean,
like
Wow.
this. This is exciting.
it kind of
It's
reminds me of the
going to
biometric implants that we were, back in alt space when we had the guy on the talk show. We were interviewing him about the biometric implants and
I'm
stuff.
so glad I didn't
Oh,
get one of
right.
those yet.
Oh, you
I
were so hard
remember
on one of those.
Ryu.
You're like, I'm getting it. I'm glad you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ryu
Yeah,
had
they're kind of.
them.
yeah.
It looks like we had
But yeah,
someone
so I
jumping up.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Crusader, what's your deal? What's that? Come on, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So I think this is just the beginning to where in the future people,
Hmm.
either, whether it be Elon Musk or people after him, will be able to
Hmm.
put a chip in your brain to be able to
Hmm.
access the satellite internet, and basically you are the phone. Like you'll power
Mm.
the chip, you'll be able to browse the internet, you'll be able to do augmented reality, you'll be able to do virtual reality. That's the
Man.
future of being able to teleport, because matter teleporting itself, that's tricky to do. But being able to teleport an avatar to an event like we were talking about earlier, I think that's
Mhm.
how teleportation is going to work. It's all going to be virtual. And you can be like
Wow.
in a little room,
Yeah.
and being in your brain, you don't even have to wear a suit.
Mm.
It'll just the signals can just simulate, oh, I'm being touched on the arm, or oh, I just got, if
So
you're playing
cool.
like some sort of like war game, oh, I just got shot in the shoulder or whatever, and it feels really
Hmm.
bad because you know the chip can
Crazy.
emulate pain and
Yeah.
warmth and cold, and basically it will be the end all to any kind of online anything. You'll just be able to
Hmm.
have that in your brain, and
It'll
like
just be there.
that'll be like it.
Oh
That
yeah,
That's
that's
absolutely.
just
fantastic.
what I think.
It makes me
Wow.
wonder though, like our bodies with different with radiation, with everything. I mean, if we did have things like that, I mean, how dangerous would that be to our health? That's the other thing. How do
Right?
Well,
you do all
it
this stuff and keep them safe?
Mhm. Mhm.
it's like we are talking about network security and your information and your biometrics. We're at the point in life where, as a human, you can either choose to live in a cave and not do anything with these things, or you embrace it, and there's risks that come with it. And I think that's an exciting take on it, though, is teleportation through that, right? I'm not trying to be Morpheus again, but what is reality, right? When you change that,
Mhm.
right? You can go anywhere, and then your friends are there or new people are there. So now you have like where he says you are the phone. Well, you are the internet too. So maybe one day that is what awaits us. But that's really amazing to see, to think about. So you
Hmm.
can't, the
Yeah.
genie's out of the bottle, right? So you can either go live in a cabin, or and that's okay if somebody chooses to do that. I wouldn't blame
Yeah.
them, but
No,
And
no.
in this
But I've seen
case,
far
you
too
would
many horror
remove
movies. I would not be living in the cabin. That's not going to work for me.
stay
that
away
is
from the
true.
cabin.
Yeah.
In the case of this, you would remove so much physical technology from your life because you would
Hmm.
not need the phone, you would not need the computer, you would not need the VR headset, you would not need the cat VR, you would not need the walking pad things. I mean, there's so many things you wouldn't need, the mouse, the keyboard. Everything would just be there because you'd will it to be.
Yeah.
Crazy. The
Yeah.
ultimate interface, yourself.
And then you
That
and
have
would
a
be
and at that
amazing.
point you're
gigantic
not even
bag of
needing a
food that
screen.
is just a feeding tube right in, and then you got tubes for
Oh, we've all seen
out,
those
and
images.
then
Yes, yes.
you're just
Ooh.
in a gigantic sack just floating there, and it's
Oh,
great. It's
gross.
There's no
life.
Yeah.
reason to have a fancy house.
I
You
was
can just
I
have
was
a
thinking,
room.
oh, yeah, but that's getting kind of, oh, no. I'd be
It
thinking
is
about
getting kind
willing
of
things into being. My God, how
touch
wonderful to turn
grass,
over and
touch
oh, look at
grass.
that, it's Ryan Reynolds. Time to get up. But that's
Well,
all right.
it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary to think of this, because think about all those AI videos, the Sora that's coming out, those super high detail quality
Right.
4K videos with that
Oh,
actually don't look so like trippy AI video.
Hmm.
Well,
they're starting
like
to
like
look real,
listen, look
aren't
how
they?
far it came in 1 year. They're starting to look
Yeah.
real. And look,
Yeah.
this isn't a blockchain DMT fueled
No.
podcast, but I'm just saying, what if we already are in here? We really wouldn't know.
Mm, yeah,
Dum dum
yeah.
dum.
um, well, the one thing I want to close with here, kind of almost almost like a public service announcement. So anybody that has Google Pay in the United States, Google Pay has over 1 billion downloads used by, I'm my God, over 180 countries, people in those. So they are shutting down Google Pay in the U.S. And anybody that has that has until June 4th to transfer your balance to bank accounts, or you could get
Hmm.
like, a wallet app or something. But I wanted to be sure to say that I was telling a friend of mine about that the other day because I know they have Google Pay. They
I
hadn't even
didn't
heard
know.
about it yet. Yeah.
What?
So,
I
and
did
again,
not
I
it's
know.
only in the US
just
that they're
got it
doing
set
that.
up.
Oh
No, really,
no,
Lunar?
no.
Oh.
Well, you can
Why'd they
feel
shut
free to
her
just
down?
deposit all your funds in my bank account, and I'll keep them safe for you. So don't worry about that. No
Aw,
problem. No
Okay.
problem at all. That's it. That's it. I've got you. I got you
he
covered.
says okay.
Right on. Me and Ryan
Agreement has
Reynolds,
been made. Yeah, yeah.
and Jason
Why are
Statham,
they
and just no,
shutting
just
it
kidding.
down?
They just decided they don't want to be doing it in the U.S. They're gonna keep it, in Europe, UK, all that stuff. But I don't know. My guess is it probably has to do with a lot of the red tape and costs and things like
By
that. Probably getting
taxes.
too much.
Oh, so I
Yeah,
just have to
there's
move
a
out of
lot.
the US.
Mm,
That's no problem. I was gonna.
Yeah,
I wanted to do
exactly.
that
See,
anyway.
there you go. No issue, right? Just make it happen, man. It's all good. So, guys, listen. So we are gonna go ahead and close on that, and really interesting stuff today. And Faye, thanks so much for telling us again about your fun little
sure.
excursion. I thought that was very, very cool. I feel like I don't
Yep.
even have to go and try that myself now because you guys have done
No, no,
that, and
no.
I'm hearing them.
You should experience it if you have the
Oh no, but
opportunity
then
to
I'm gonna
experience.
I'm gonna have FOMO,
Enjoy
right? Because
it.
I'll be like, I want it, and then I won't. I'll be like kicking myself and be like, oh, I can't have it. So I
I'm
don't know.
not feeling that though. I didn't feel
Well,
bad.
that's true,
I
and you are
didn't kick
the queen
myself.
of
I'm
the
not I'm
I
not like,
felt
early
it
"Oh
a little
damn,
adopters.
I'm
bit.
really."
I'm
Mm.
okay
Go ahead,
though. I
Johnny.
felt it a little bit, and then I said, you know what? I'm gonna build a top of the line PC instead. So I've
There
been
you
Nice.
getting the
go.
parts,
That's a
and
good
I'm much
choice.
happier. And
There you
Play the
go.
yeah,
gaming, all sorts of productivity. That's
Mm,
an awesome
yes.
thing. That's
So
cool. That's cool.
that is awesome,
But
though.
no, I couldn't just leave it. I don't have any FOMO. I'm not
That's
thinking and
awesome.
dreaming about it, which I'm so surprised.
You know what? I'm looking forward to the next gen of it, though. Even the second or third generation of it. I
Yes,
think,
hmm
the
of
third
course.
generation is probably going to be a keeper for sure. Second gen could be possibly.
I
But
might second gen. I
I'm
might
super
second
I'm
gen.
super excited about finding out about that. So, but
Mhm.
anyway, okay, so guys, listen again. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I personally, we all going to thank you, but I want to remind you all to please do what you can to help each other out there this week in the world, and take a look out for people who may need help and may not be willing or able to ask for it, and do what you can. Do what you can to reach out a hand and be a good human this week and help people out. Be a good human every day. Faye,
Mhm.
anything you want to say?
Nothing. Just thanks for coming, and we're here every week, same time, same place, and love to have you back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wonderful.
Johnny.
Yay!
Nice.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would just like to say that I am fully against all killers, and I hope they get caught. And thank you for coming.
Get in!
Thank you.
God, no.
Yay.
So awesome. Well, listen, thanks so much, guys. We had a wonderful time with you. Come back next week. Thanks for joining us.
Definitely. Did you have
There
an
is
announcement
some
about
karaoke
karaoke?
going on.